We're counting down the 10 most nightmarish jungle hazards that turned Vietnam into a battlefield where nature itself was an enemy. From hidden traps and venomous creatures to relentless diseases and the crushing psychological toll of the wild, these dangers claimed lives, even when no shots were fired. Let's begin with number 10. Night in Vietnam's triple canopy jungle meant a darkness so complete, even moonlight vanished before reaching the ground. Soldiers on listening post duty were sent out in pairs, sometimes 100 meters from the main perimeter, ordered to stay silent and alert for hours. Flashlights could reveal their position, so men navigated by touch, memory, and the faintest glimmers on a compass. Every sound, a branch snapping or a distant animal call, set nerves on edge. Sleep was nearly impossible. Some veterans recall the jungle whispering threats that were not there, their minds tricked by exhaustion and fear. By dawn, relief came with the light. But the psychological toll of those endless nights never truly faded. Monsoon season in Vietnam meant rain pounding the jungle for months, turning trails and clearings into endless rivers of mud. From May to October, the ground could swallow boots and bog down armored vehicles. Whole columns stranded, engines choked with water, men forced to dig and push just to move a few feet. Infantry waded through water that sometimes reached their waists, each step a struggle against slick, sucking earth. Helicopters circled above, unable to land in flooded zones, cutting off supply and evacuation. Before a single shot was fired, the jungle's mud had already drained strength and morale, making every mission a punishing ordeal. Daytime in the Vietnamese jungle brought a different kind of threat. Temperatures soared above 100 degrees Fahrenheit, while humidity hovered near 90%, turning sweat into a useless trickle. Soldiers marched under this relentless heat, weighed down by packs that could top 70 pounds, carrying rifles, ammunition, water, rations, and radios that stuck to their backs. The air offered no escape. Shade barely cooled the skin, and every breath felt heavy. Men collapsed mid-patrol with dizziness, confusion, or sudden blackouts. Classic signs of heat exhaustion or heat stroke. Water was critical, but sources were often contaminated, forcing a choice between dehydration and risking disease. For some, the jungle's heat was as deadly as any bullet. Giant centipedes, fire ants, and aggressive spiders turned every patch of jungle into a minefield of bites and stings. Scorpions hid in boots and under packs, waiting for the careless reach of a tired hand. At night, soldiers often woke with insects crawling across their faces and arms, unable to swat them away without breaking silence. Swarms of biting flies attacked exposed skin during the day, leaving welts that soon turned into open sores in the humid air. Even minor bites could become infected quickly, especially when sweat and filth soaked into every scratch. Veterans described the misery of trying to rest while bugs burrowed under collars and cuffs, the itch and pain never letting up. Over time, the constant assault wore down both skin and spirit, leaving men raw, exhausted, and dreading the next night. Leeches haunted every step through Vietnam's jungle, lurking in streams, puddles, and the wet foliage that brushed against bare skin. Their saliva carried both anesthetic and anticoagulant. So many soldiers never felt the bite, only to discover socks, pants, or even shirt collars soaked with blood after a patrol. Leeches clung to legs, groins, armpits, and necks, sometimes by the dozen after a single water crossing. Pulling them off by hand risked leaving the jaws embedded, raising the odds of infection. Field medics taught troops to burn or salt leeches off, but that took time few could spare. The wounds bled freely for hours, each one a fresh entry point for bacteria in the filthy, humid air. Veterans describe the daily ritual of stripping down and checking for leeches, and the revulsion of feeling the jungle literally feeding on their bodies. Over weeks, the blood loss, open sores, and constant attacks wore men down, leaving them exhausted and vulnerable to the next threat. Vietnam's jungles hid more than enemy fighters. Lurking in the undergrowth and trees were some of the world's deadliest snakes. Bamboo pit vipers, known as two-steppers, earned their nickname from the belief that a bite would drop a man after just 2 steps. The reality was slower, but their venom could destroy tissue and trigger internal bleeding. Kraits and cobras, including the massive king cobra, haunted the same trails, bunkers, and rice paddies where soldiers moved and slept. Their venom could cause paralysis or stop breathing entirely. Each year, an estimated 25 to 50 American soldiers were bitten by venomous snakes, numbers small compared to other hazards. But the fear was constant. At night, men checked every handhold and every step, knowing that a hidden viper could strike in the dark. Viet Cong fighters sometimes hung live snakes from tunnel ceilings as living booby traps, turning every crawl into a gamble with death. For some, the dread of snakes was worse than fear of the enemy. Feet soaked for days inside wet boots became a breeding ground for misery. Skin softened and turned white, then began to break down, peeling away in sheets between the toes and along the soles. Soldiers called it jungle rot. It started with maceration, skin so waterlogged that it split open at the slightest friction. Fungal infections took hold quickly, spreading across raw, open wounds. Bacteria from mud, sweat, and leech bites invaded the cracks, turning small sores into oozing ulcers that crept up the legs. Every step on a long patrol sent waves of pain shooting up through infected feet, making the simplest movement torture. Army medics issued foot powder and ordered sock changes. But in the relentless humidity, powder turned to sticky paste and socks were soaked again within minutes. Some men were evacuated with abscesses or tissue so damaged it never healed right. For many, the jungle's wet ground did not just slow them down, it left them crippled, limping, and dreading every step. Mosquitoes in Vietnam's jungles carried more than just irritation. They brought malaria, a disease that quietly knocked out tens of thousands of American troops. Official Army records show about 25,000 confirmed malaria cases among U.S. forces during the war. Nearly every case meant days or weeks in a field hospital, with high fevers, violent chills, and crushing weakness. Whole squads could be sidelined at once, sometimes more men than enemy fire ever managed. Dengue fever and Japanese encephalitis added to the toll, filling sick bays with soldiers too delirious or weak to stand. Malaria rarely killed outright, but falciparum infections could turn deadly if evacuation was delayed. Preventive pills were issued, but side effects like nausea, nightmares, and headaches led many to skip doses, especially during long patrols. Nets and repellent offered little protection in the steaming, rain-soaked bush. Commanders had to plan for the invisible enemy as much as the Viet Cong, knowing that a single mosquito bite could take a man out of the fight for weeks. The jungles of Vietnam hid a second war beneath the leaves and mud. A war fought with mines and booby traps, crafted to wound, terrify, and slow every step. Toe popper mines, often no bigger than a bar of soap, lay buried along trails and dikes. One wrong step, and a man's foot or lower leg vanished in a blast of dirt and shrapnel. Tripwire grenades waited at ankle height, nearly invisible in the undergrowth. A brush of the boot or a stumble in the dark could pull a pin and hurl metal through the ranks. Engineers and infantry found improvised charges built from artillery shells, bombs, or even ration cans, wired to explode under vehicles or at choke points. These devices accounted for about 11% of American casualties. more than 1 in 10 wounded or killed. Not by gunfire, but by something they never saw. Patrols slowed to a crawl as point men probed every step with bayonets or sticks, eyes scanning for the faintest sign of disturbed earth or a glint of wire. Veterans described the mental strain as relentless, knowing that any step, any touch, might be the last. The jungle's silence was broken not by gunfire, but by sudden blasts, screams, and the scramble for medevac. Even when the enemy was nowhere in sight, the fear of what lay hidden underfoot never left them. Hidden just beneath the jungle floor, Punji stake pits waited for the next unlucky step. These traps were simple, but devastating. Shallow pits lined with sharpened bamboo stakes, each one hardened in fire and then coated with human waste or rotting animal remains. The stakes were set at angles, designed to tear flesh and trap the leg, making extraction nearly impossible without causing more damage. False coverings of leaves and thin branches disguised the danger until a soldier's weight broke through, sending him crashing down onto the spikes. The wounds were not just deep, they were filthy, almost guaranteed to become infected in the tropical heat. Field medics could do little but cut away tissue and try to stop the infection from spreading. In many cases, the only way to save a life was to amputate a foot or a leg. The screams of a man caught in a Punji pit echoed through the jungle, freezing patrols in place and tying up helicopters for urgent evacuation. Veterans remember the terror of these traps, knowing that a single misstep could mean a lifetime of pain, disability, or worse. Punji stake pits were not built to kill outright. They were engineered to maim, to spread fear, and to break the will of every soldier who walked the jungle's hidden paths. Across all these hazards, one truth emerges. In Vietnam, the jungle was as lethal as any enemy. Nature's constant assault blurred the line between battlefield and survival. That reality still shapes how we understand the true cost of war. Thanks for watching. Share your thoughts below.